Hello, welcome to We Are Human. I am Susan Leonardson and Andrea Pure. We are your hosts, and we have a guest with us again today. This theme of today is going to be actually like we are human and like our human connection. And we're going to get into a little bit of AI talk too, as always, as we do on these episodes. So, Andrea, who do we have with us today?
Today we have joining us Alyssa Aviles. I think I got that right. She's going to correct me if not. And she's best known as Liz. She's an award-winning funnel designer with near and dear to Susan and I's heart. She comes from a very similar upbringing, but she's also a Canva and ClickFunnels ambassador. She is a design mentor with 16 plus years of experience with helping entrepreneurs and brands and bring their vision to life through bold strategic design, which is again very sister to what we do. And so looking for the conversation. I think the thing that most caught my attention when I always try to do a little research on the show, aside from knowing our guests, but I think the thing that I am really interested to dive in today with Alyssa is she is also someone who has published quite a bit about AI as a creative and how do you leverage those two things and still be human centered, which is no better match for people on the show. And so I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Welcome, Alyssa. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be hanging out with y'all today.
I feel
Yeah.
like like the three of us together is like so long overdue. And I was just sitting here thinking, like, how have we never had a conversation together? It's
Oh,
crazy because we are like in the same world and
We
we
are.
probably worked with the
yeah.
same similar people. And anyway,
We're
happy
gonna
to have
right
you
that
here.
rock today.
Yep, we're gonna have to party together at FHL. It's
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
Yes, yes. Okay, so Alyssa, let's go ahead and just start off for all of the people who are listening. Just give us a little bit about like what do you do? What's
Yeah.
your vision and goal in life right now? Give us a little bit of context beyond what I shared.
Sure. Yeah. So I like to explain myself as a multi-passionate creative. Now, I don't normally tell that to people when I first meet them. Normally, I go with, I'm like a creative director. I help brands do designs and implement these really cool funnel systems. And then I get like, well, what is a funnel? And, it kind of rabbit trails from there. But ultimately, I've always been a multi-passionate creative, meaning that I have over my years, I have gone from being like a traditional hand painting artist, painting on guitars and shoes,
Yeah.
and anything that you could just give me, right? So then becoming a photographer, and I was a professional photographer for over a decade, award winning, published in magazines. It is one of the favorite times of my life. And I have a really interesting transition story with that. Then I went to graphic design, then I went to website design, then I got in the world of funnels. And so when I say multi-passion creative, I have really gone one thing to another, and I've loved every little bit of it, and everything has also layered on top of each other. And so currently right now I specialize in a lot of branding, rebranding, helping people create their personal brands, figure out their colors, figure out their style, their vibe, how to stand out in a world of AI. We're going to talk a little bit more about that today too. I love creating funnel systems. I'm like a creative right hand, like someone will be talking with me and they'll be like, yeah, I really want to do this. I'm like, I've got all these ideas with what you could do. I'm that person. And it's just super fun. I love getting to do what I do. I love getting to like stand alongside of people and dream with them and help them. Because sometimes I'm sure you ladies have also experienced this when you're talking to people. They'll be sharing and like you can see the vision in your head, but it's
Yes.
really hard for them to see
Oh
that
my
vision
gosh.
and really hard to
Yes. Isn't it a
communicate.
magic
You
moment?
get it.
Customer? Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes, and so, like, that's such a gift, and so it's a gift for us, but it's also a gift that many people have that they don't realize that they have, and so it's just fun getting to do all that stuff. So that is kind of me in a nutshell.
I love it.
Okay, I think the thing that strikes me the most about you, Alyssa, that I want to go right in for like the jugular, and not in, like a bad way. But I think the thing that strikes me the most is that um, I think the general sentiment right now for most creatives with the state of AI is one of depression,
Mhm.
anxiety, fear, right? And I think that I think people who are growth mind oriented, right, and entrepreneur, they cognitively are saying, I'm going to embrace AI. It's going to be my tool. I'm better with AI, right? But emotionally, like the human experience, there is like a deep grieving and sadness, right? That it's like, how
100%.
in the world can the world think that they could do design, right? Like I do design because they have a tool like AI, right? And so but you in all of your posts that I read and just like even today hearing your journey, you feel genuinely not just like forced, right? Like, I'm gonna have a good mindset and make it work, but like you genuinely feel like optimistic and positive about that. And I would love to learn because that's like alien. That's alien to me. And I would love to learn more. Yeah. Yeah. How are you
Okay.
keeping positivity and that balance? Yeah. And your orientation
Yeah,
there.
that's a really good question. I'm gonna be honest, like, it's been really hard. I literally have had conversations the last few days with other, funnel designers and experts that we know that we're all connected to. I've been having private conversations with them, because I have been a little discouraged lately. I've been going through this like it's a grieving process. I think you described it really well. So I'm trying to stay a positive voice in the field because I know that um, I'm an educator and a mentor and naturally like a coach. I always want to be cheerleading for people and supporting people. And that there's a whole reason why I really want to do that. And I don't want to add into the negative conversation I'm often seeing in the space when it comes to creatives and AI. But I have also really wrestled with this where it's like, man, like, what is this gonna look like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? How do I encourage the youth, like, that are growing up in this world? Because it's I'm an elder millennial, so, like, it's, like, we had just, like, started getting into the tech, but we also were playing outside with our friends, and so, it's such a different world that these kids are living in, and so I have really been trying to figure out and navigate, okay, how do I want my voice to be felt and seen and heard in this transition that we're making? And I have two choices. I either join in with the naysayers and the negativity and like, hey, everything is gonna burn and like that's it, like we're all completely doomed.
We're
Or
all
I can
you. We have no purpose whatsoever.
like I see a lot of people do that, right?
Yeah.
Or I could share the grieving process, but also be like, okay, we could actually use this for good and we could actually take this and make more human elements with it and support one another and be more collaborative with each other. And how do we actually turn this into a win-win-win sort of thing? And so for me, I'm a very spiritual girly. And so I truly believe in the concept of bringing heaven to earth and all that we do. And I don't believe that God is an intentional God of chaos or disaster or doom. And like, I grew up in a very religious structure where that was like, God's favorite God and Father and like, like all this like chaotic stuff. And I'm just like, I don't think that that is the life that we're meant to live. I think we're already getting so much of that right now between politics and news and media and like the attention economy with all this stuff. And so I have been trying to have a more positive voice with this. And I don't because I know what it feels like to be like, well, oh crap, am I gonna have a job in a
Yeah.
year or two, right? So I think we all are kind of being given this sort of thing where it's like we have to decide the voice that we want to be in this time and be open to new ideas, be open to new things. Because I'll be honest, when the whole AI thing conversation started happening, I was very against it. I was like, I've seen enough of the movies. I'm a nerdy girl, as you guys can tell. Like this is like Terminator. Like Sarah Connor's just
So
there.
bad.
Like Sarah Connor's like smoking a cigarette, like so disappointed in all of us. And like Skynet's gonna take over. And so when AI first hit the map, I was like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this. And of course, like there's the environmental stuff and then like data center stuff and the impact that has on communities. There's the flip side of the whole AI conversation, right? And so I was like, I don't really know. And what was happening in the creative space is that many of the tools I'm already using started to add more AI powered tools and AI generative tools. And I realized like this stuff is actually helping my workflow. It's helping me be a little bit more creative. So, I kind of became a little bit more open to it. And then, playing around with Mid Journey and then playing around with chat and playing around with Claude and just kind of seeing like what it could do. And so I started having conversations with other creatives that were also open to the idea of AI and seeing how they were viewing the world and seeing things, because it is very like very divisive in this space. Some people are very like, I'm never gonna do it. And then there's more of us that are like slowly adopting to it. So that's like a really long response to your
No,
question. I'm
it's
still
so on
navigating it.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so on
Well,
point, yeah.
I think that what it's doing across all industries, I think definitely the creatives got hit first and the hardest.
Mhm. Yeah.
Writing and, graphic design and all that, because that was like the first thing that everyone was like, wow, it can do all those things. Not as well, but good enough that people wanted to just use it instead of paying for services if they didn't have the budgets, right? But what it's forcing everyone to do is really like, okay, so we in business, we know that businesses have to innovate. They have to, like, over decades of time, things change. They have to innovate. They have to keep up with the markets. Like, things shift. iPhones came out and made, like, music industries, like, all that. Everybody has to start innovating. And I think AI has just accelerated the need to innovate faster. And so I think that there's a place for everybody and every industry. It's just you have to like innovate with it. And then one of the things that we're kind of doing in our team, I'd love to know your thoughts on this, is actually it came from Todd Dickerson on the challenge that's going on this week, if you've been watching that. He said something that I was like, oh, that's good. I got to share that with the team. That like everybody in a company, they need to start looking at themselves as a cogwheel in this like in the system and in the process of whatever the company does, and start looking at themselves as system managers. And so it's like leveraging AI, but you might be I wonder how like maybe you might be finding ways in the creative space to be like a system manager of the creativity. And then my second thought on top of that is like if we can leverage AI and save us time, like you were saying, like in your software that you're already using and in the systems that you're already using, is it allowing you to have more time and space to actually be creative instead of just doing the labor of everything?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Oh my gosh, there's so many pieces to this. So, I'm a solopreneur. I don't have an agency. I have a VA that I rely on. I have a design assistant that I rely on, and a WordPress guy that I rely on every so often for my stuff. And as I have been, entering more into this world and figuring out, okay, how do I want to use AI? Because I'm writing a book right now on personal branding and how to stand out in a world of AI. And I really feel like people are going to have to start being honest about how they're using it, how they're implementing it. I think there's some stuff that I'm like, whoa, that I'm never going to do that in my business. But like you said, like I want to use AI as something in my tool belt. I want to see AI as a tool to help enhance my creativity, to help me become more efficient so I can serve more people, but also be able to rest and actually like have more time to be creative, like, and not work 24/7 and not do all this stuff. So I'm in the process of, kind of brain dumping. Julie Chanel has been sharing how like she uses her AI as like a second brain. So I've been kind of learning a little bit more about that and just kind of brain dumping everything I know into this and creating like a Wikipedia of systems and how I process things. And I'm still in the process of like, okay, how can I do these really cool things? And I will say, like, right now with AI, it is still much faster for me to just go inside of ClickFunnels and build from scratch than it is for me to use AI and pull it in.
Amen.
Like, I like and it's more fun that I don't know if you're like
Yeah.
this too. It's more fun for me doing that as well. I actually feel more creative when I can go in there and play versus like I tried I tried doing it for a client where I was like, okay, let me prompt Claude and have it do this thing, put the brand colors in. It gave me something. It looks like every other AI website out there right now. So then I'm like trying to reprompt to fix one thing and then it breaks another thing. And then I'm reprompting again and then it does the same thing over. And I'm like, man, I just wasted like an hour trying to get this perfect, but I could have probably just built it in 30 minutes. Like so that there's still some things where I'm like, okay, I'm going to pass this off to AI and then I'm not going to pass it off to AI. But I was having this conversation with a friend or this morning who's a copywriter, And he's like, well, how are you going to reposition yourself? Because this conversation is happening. Like you said, a lot of people now they could go to Claude and be like, hey, create for me a brand guide. And, this is what I do. Here are my colors. And then it's going to just output something. And,
Yeah.
and then there you go. And then I had a high level client that I'm working with. I got really sick back in December. I pitched them on doing a rebrand for a project that they have. I got sick and I was like, hey, I don't know when I'm going to get better. I can refer you to somebody else, or something like that. They ended up using AI to build what I was going to do for them. And it's completely off brand and ugly, but, like they were
Problem,
able to
right?
do that. Yeah. And so like, there is this big season of transition. And so I have been encouraging designers, like, you have to create better systems. You're going to have to create better processes, and you're going to have to find these ways to still be human. And you have to find what works best for you too, because what I'm kind of finding right now is that AI is like the shiny object in the marketing space. Like everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants to run challenges on it now. Everybody wants to like create products with it now. Like it is the hot thing. And I don't want people to get so overwhelmed that they get stuck with like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And this kind of leads into the conversation when you were talking about all of this before you asked the question, the concept of speed and
Yeah.
how what AI is doing right now is it's speeding things up so much. And so I used to pride myself in that, I offer something called VIP design days where a person can hire me for a day and I will get your challenge funnel, event funnel, whatever sort of thing done typically within a day or two. And I take these every so often for clients, but now with AI, like people can create this stuff even faster. And so the 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 concept of speed is killing creativity in many ways for people. They don't even realize it. And so oh my gosh, there's like so much with this that I want to talk about. I feel like it's also kind of killing the human element of things a little bit
Mhm.
as well.
Say
And
more about that.
so
Say more about
okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite people to follow, his name's Carlos Whitaker. I don't know if you guys know who he is or if you follow him. He is the best-selling author. He's been on the internet for a long time, like decades, has had some viral videos with his family. And he wrote a book called How to Human, which y'all would love, huh? Definitely
Oh.
grab a copy of it. And he talks about this framework called the framework is Be Human, See Human, and Free Humans. And inside this book, he wrote this years ago before AI like really picked up on things. He was talking about how with technology and speed, everything is just so fast. Like we before the call, we were just talking about how we listen to Russell Brunson on 2X, right? Like we have just trained our brains to be able to do these things so quickly. We're scrolling and seeing all this stuff so quickly. Like life is happening so fast. And now with AI in the picture, it's happening even faster, and we feel like we have to stay up to date and we have to keep in touch or we're gonna get left behind, and it's just speeding the timeline chaotically. And so what he writes about in his book, I'm gonna get a little like spiritual here, but what he writes about in his book is that the concept of being human, everything that he does, he wants to be a reflection of Jesus. He fully believes in Jesus as a human being walking on earth, his ministry and whatnot. And he's like, I want to be the hands and feet of Jesus, but in order for me to do that, I need to be in the moment. And Jesus did his ministry walking at 3 miles per hour. Which when you slow down and you really think about that, you think about whether you believe in Jesus or not, you think about the impact that now we are talking about this, right? And that the ministry took place at 3 miles per hour, which is the average walking speed of a human. And so like we weren't designed to like like do all this crazy chaotic super fast sort of stuff, but AI is kind of in ways where it is helping us be more productive and efficient. My other fear is that are we starting to become like that cog in the wheel where it's like more,
Yeah.
more, 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 more because we can do so much faster.
It's
Yeah.
like instead of sorry, Andrea,
No, no, you're
it's like instead of who are we talking to recently? I was at like some mastermind or something recently where it is if we use it to create, like I was saying, more time and space to like slow down, be creative, touch the grass, all the
Yeah.
things. are we doing that? Or are we just filling that time with more, like you said, you know? Go ahead.
100%.
When I
Go
wonder
ahead.
too if we even break that up into kinda like 2 categories, right? So, because I think there's like the it's doing its thing over here efficient, and we're doing our thing over here that's slowing down and being creative, right? But I think it's in the integration, right? That is where, the invitation is. So, I think I love what you said, Alyssa, in terms of the 3 miles per hour at the ministry. I think if you look at we oftentimes on this show talk a lot, and most of our guests talk that the thing that makes us uniquely human is our connection to divinity, our ability for divinity to work through and with us, no matter what you believe. And so, and in that, it is a downshift. It is a slowing down. It is a emptying. It is a get quiet, right? And so I do think that, but then it's like, this this engagement or this interchange between it's like you have 2 like a highway, right? The slow lane and the fast lane, and, like, you're going down and you're doing an activity, and I think it's like, "Okay, I know I need to be in the left lane right now." You know what I mean? Because, like, we just need to we got it to a point and we need to, like, speed, you know what I mean? And but then it's like, we need to shift into the right lane in the same motion, on the same journey, to be like, "Okay, AI, shh, let me open up again," and then like, okay, now go slow. All right, got it. Good. Back in the fast lane. All right, AI, jump back in the driver's seat. And it's like this dance that I think we haven't quite like we're not having enough conversations of when are you starting to outsource the thing that is opening up to that divinity, to that creation, to that slowing down in the moment of using AI, not just it's operating in the background and then I get my space over here.
100%. And, I've been seeing this happen with some close friends of mine even where, like, they just always wanna be on top of things with AI and, like, they fully trust AI, and I'm like, "That you should probably be questioning this a little bit," Like, I put some things in and I'm like, "Hey, I wanna do this," and then the AI is like, "That's wrong," and I'm like, "No, there's factual evidence that what I told you is not wrong," And so, like, I have to remind people, like, you've got check and kinda see and, like, look over things, but, to encourage all the listeners, like, since we're talking about divinity a bit, like, I truly wholeheartedly believe that every single person is born creative, that creativity is woven in our DNA, and I often talk to people, before workshops and, like, coaching calls, and they're like, "Oh, well, Liz, I'm not as creative as you are. I can't see the world like you can, and I'll never be." I'm like, no, like, full stop, like, we gotta, like, rewire the brain and not only the brain, it's the heart too. So typically before my sessions, I will remind people, I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna speak this out loud. I am creative and I can do this." And we're gonna say it as many times as you need to get it from your head to your heart. Because, if we take a step back, we pull AI and technology and all the things out and we just go out into nature. Like nature is the best canvas of a great creator, right? And I feel like at least what I'm seeing right now, and this has even been happening in my own life, like I want to stay up to date with all the things, I want to see all the cool new spots. I want to like do all the fancy things. And then I forget, ironically, I'll be on my phone sitting outside with my dog, like watching all these TikToks, and then I forget to take a moment to, like, look at the grass and listen to the peacocks and, like, feel the wind in my hair and just that very, like, peaceful nature sort of thing. And what you'll notice, I won't be surprised if this happens now as we're, like, becoming very tech heavy, AI heavy, everything needs to be automated and all these things. I won't be surprised if we actually see a mass, like, disconnect from people. Like, people are gonna disconnect from tech to go back to this sort of natural element. So, like, you are all creative. Like, please, like, remind yourself every day, "I'm creative and I can do this." It is in there, I promise, and you're gonna notice as you live more of a lifestyle, of practicing creativity. So that is, like, the art of wonder. So going outside and looking at these beautiful things around you and, like, maybe questioning those things too and, like, "How cool is this? And what is that made out of? And, like, how does this animal function?" Like, questioning and being, like, in the art of wonder is such a good thing. Pausing more often, like playing. I still believe in the art of play. Yeah, like you guys, if anyone's watching and not listening, in the background I have Grogu, which we're just commenting on little Grogu. I've got Legos, like here's Lego, like sure, I build 7, 8 figure funnels, but like I'm a geek and nerd and kid at heart. I like my desk is a mess. I have a bunch of painting supplies here right now. But
Love
like I'm trying to play more. And that's something that I don't see a lot of people doing still is they're not practicing the art of play. And so I would encourage you guys to do that as well. And what you can do is like like keep those creative human elements. Like keep practicing those things. And what you're going to notice is the more that you do this offline, it's only going to help you better when you're doing your AI prompts, when you're processing things with AI, when you're building out your business, when you're figuring out what you're going to do. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, like I got this really good idea while I was doodling or writing in my journal. And then you can use AI to elaborate on that and push back on things and kind of like process things a little bit more. So that is how you can like have more of that balance between the two of them.
Yeah, so true.
We could
Okay,
go
so
deep with this combo.
I love it, and I think, like, there's just so many shared values and shared perspectives there. I think you have something else that Susan and I both share, and that is your human-centered orientation. It's something that it's honestly why we do the podcast, is that even though we are in the world of tech and we are tech evangelists and we believe that tech is, like, get on board or you're going to get left behind, right? We also do it in such a way that is human-centered. And we know
Mhm.
that that's critical. We usually rarely start with the tech. We always start with the human first. And I think a lot of what you publish and what you talk about has that similar vein. We talk more about how do you approach that in what you do? And yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more.
Yeah. So, growing up, I grew up in a very like Southern Baptist church, school sort of thing, and kind of very like more on the doom and gloom sort of side. And I will say, like, okay, so back then I was heavily bullied in a Christian school, ironically, very heavily bullied to the point where I wanted to, unalive myself. And, you know, I had a really supernatural experience where I just felt like I heard from the Lord saying, like, your time's not done. You still have a purpose. Like, just love my people. And so from that, I shifted to becoming friends with people that I normally wouldn't become friends with. And a lot of times in religious spaces that you have to stay in your circles and you have to stay like only doing life with these type of people and you shouldn't like talk to these other people and you shouldn't do like all these other things. And so like I remember how like depressed and sad I was, like feeling bullied and as an outcast. And all I could think of was like, man, these people that I'm told not to love and not to talk to and not to like be with, they are probably feeling the way that I have felt before in this time of my life. And so I started just walking and doing life with people and meeting other people and expanding how I see the world. And I just started to love like getting to know other people who were different than me, even if we don't see eye to eye on certain things. And just like getting in that process and opening up like my mindset to this stuff has been like so huge and it's really given me a love for like I love how unique we all are. I love the stories that we all have to tell. I've gained so much breakthrough in my life by doing life with others who aren't like me. And I think there's such a unique beauty to that process. And so I have, since doing the mission trips and since kind of like walking with people and doing more life with people when I was a photographer, this was a really big thing. Like I used to just take pictures for the fun of it, like here, there, whatever. Then I started kind of doing it a little bit more like, so it's funny because I started with weddings and because like back then, like weddings was like the big thing for photographers when you first got into the industry. Like that's where you made money. So I started doing wedding photography and I was like, this is sweet. This is cool. Like I love getting to capture these moments, but it's a lot of work and a lot of risk to it. And so then I was like, I just want to be with people. I just want to be with people. I want to get to know people. I want to see people. And so I started doing more documentary styled brand style portraiture and
Cool.
things like that. And that honestly, like, just it expanded so much more for me, and walking with people and hearing people's stories, and telling their stories through photographs and just being able to like capture that moment in time and getting to see that person for who they are. And so that opened a new piece. And then, as I started kind of doing more of the layering of like designs and challenges and funnels, like I have just kind of walked with people through all sorts of different things and different stories and different heartbreaks and different joys and different celebrations. And so I've just learned to love people more throughout the whole process. And going back to the whole, like, I still truly believe that we're to bring heaven to earth. Jesus came to talk about what that looks like, right? And so for me, I'm like life shouldn't be as chaotic and as different and like, and all these different like broken systems and stuff like this. So I'm like, okay, how can I make this better? How can I like turn this around? How can I use this for the good? And so it has been quite the process. It's been quite the journey, but I genuinely love people. Of course, there are some people that we don't vibe like every so often. But I still try. Like I was listening to your podcast with Turner, and he's kind of like the same way. I absolutely love Turner.
Yeah.
It's very rare that it's like but still, I try to learn something from that person, even if I wholeheartedly disagree with them. I don't like them. I don't vibe with them. I at least try to find something that I can learn from that individual. But yeah, we're all human at the end of the day. It's our superpower. It's what makes us unique. I think it is I've been encouraging people now, like, work on your personal branding and being more human in your branding, because what we're seeing is AI replicating who we are. But at the end of the day, like you are you, like you have a soul. The AI can kind of replicate your language and all this stuff, but like you have a living soul. Like people want to interact with you and hear you and hug you. And like they really want that element. So I try to remain human first in all that I do. That is a strong value that I have. It's a value that I feel like a lot of people like us are gonna have to define. Like we want to be human first. We still will use AI, but we really want to prioritize human first because like we love being human, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
As you're explaining that, I would love to just try to, I think, summarize it in 2 ways. The first way is similar to, great chefs out there, right? I am a big believer that, like, the love and the creative energy that they put into their culinary talent, you feel it in the experience of eating the food, right? I mean, it is felt, it is palpable, it is experienced, and I think it is that love that's put in, and it sounds like that's what you do for your people. I think the second thing, though, that's interesting in what you're talking about in the human-centered is trying to draw out not just the brilliance and not just the love of that person, but also their story, which probably has pain and suffering and sadness and not all the happy, fun stuff is also through, through brand or through the visual or through whatever it may be. And that both of those need to be there in order for that fully human first experience to be felt. Is that a good summary?
100%. Excellent summary. That is awesome. You need to just follow people around and give summaries of I'm like, that's
Like,
so
like
good.
it's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, okay, and then alright, this is gonna be a total random tangent, but it keeps, like, coming through and distracting me, so I have to ask because
Mhm.
Susan is a hockey fanatic. The picture behind you to the right, is that a hockey player?
Okay, no, so we've got okay, so this is
Oh,
this is
all
a
in,
poster that
okay.
my
He
friend
looks
made.
like a
Yep.
little hockey guy, and I was like, "Oh gosh, this is" okay, explain
I do
explain.
love hockey too. I do love hockey too. We're a fan of the Anaheim Ducks. We also I like the Tampa Bay Lightning. Yeah, but no, this is a poster that one of my friends made. He does stuff with Adobe. He's another amazing creative and
Oh,
illustrator. He's also been kind of
yeah.
talking about AI stuff, and he made me that really cool poster.
Oh, that is so cool. Okay, what is it? What is it? Is there a meaning behind it or, it just keeps pulling me in?
Yeah, isn't it a cool piece? So he designed this for
Cool.
Adobe, because he gets asked often to. So for anyone listening, Adobe is like the grail of creative tools. So that is what typically majority of people have been raised with learning. There's all sorts of different tools, Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign. You've probably heard these things kind of dropped around. The times have changed, of course, with Canva entering the picture. And I use both Canva and Adobe, even though I'll be honest, I use Canva way more. And so he was asked to create a poster. And so he created this really cool poster for anyone listening. It's a hand with a glove holding some like a deck of cards. And then the cards each have like little elements, little icons from Adobe that you would typically use in your
Mm.
design process. But it's just a reminder. It says all in, bet in, all on yourself. And so my friend had made it just like encouraging people to like stay creative, go all in on you, do this stuff. And I was like, bro, I need that. Send me one. So he sent that to me for my
Oh, I love it. It is really it's
yeah.
eye-catching, yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you.
oh,
Well,
go
and
ahead.
it's so fitting too. It's like to what we were just talking about, right? Like just be all it's almost like be all in on just being human and just like
Mhm.
stay creative.
Thank you.
I think we've mentioned that this before. I think that the most human trait that we have, you hit it on the head, Alyssa, earlier, is like our God-given creativeness. Like humans have that gift of creating that is unique to us. And so yeah, like
100%.
I love the conversation that is like, how do we stay human and connected while keep creating?
Mhm.
Oh, well
I
said.
there is a supernatural element too that comes with it with being human. Like I'll share a story really quick. So I have this client that I'm working with, and she came to me. So I'm mostly known for doing challenges because I was working with a guy named Pedro Deo, who's like the challenge guy. So in our world, right, like that's big, and like challenges are a big thing. And I was working with this lady who wanted to run a challenge, and she's like, I created my brand colors, and she was using like navies and golds, and she's like, I want to create this challenge, and I want to do this, and I don't really know if we should put this accent color in, if we should just use the gold or maybe something else. And at the time, she wanted to like serve because she has testimonials with both men and women. And so I was like, okay, like kind of gathering the insight. And whenever I'm talking with people and onboarding them, I try to like get a feel for who they are because another big part of being human is feeling, right? And like there is this like supernatural energy sort of exchange in the process. So her and I are talking and, go to sleep. And here's the other thing with like being human and what I would encourage you guys with being creative, okay? AI can do things super fast. I get it. It's awesome. Yay. But there is also a gift and a time for you being able to process the creative ideas that you have. And you just never know when something's going to pop up. So I had that conversation with her. A few days later, I'm sitting outside and, sitting outside with my dog, enjoying the sun, listening to the wind and whatnot. And this hot pink color just comes to mind. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Like I barely know her, but like I've never seen hot pink branding with like who she is. And if she's gonna like open this challenge to men and women, I don't know. But like I could not get rid of this like hot pink like vision. And so I messaged her and I was like, hey, this is gonna sound really weird, but what if we did hot pink as your accent color? I know that kind of like is gonna alienate naturally alienate some of the men, but we can make this a fully female challenge and do this, have hot pink. So she calls me back and she's like, "Okay, this is insane." She's like, "Years ago, I created something called the pink pant movement." And she used to wear these hot pink leggings to the gym because most women will wear black leggings, right? Because like,
Yeah.
like we feel like that's more slim and fitting. But she wants to encourage women to wear more bright, colorful
Mm.
things to kind of break the narrative and break the noise a bit and stand out. I had no idea. I did not research this. I didn't. And so like you'll notice that as you are being like more creative and stepping into the flow of this, supernatural things like that and it happens with everyone regardless of what you believe. I've seen this happen with so many people. And so that's really fun. It's really fun getting to do that sort of process, so yes, you can still use AI for some of your stuff, but like also take the time and don't be surprised if one day you're out and you're like, "Yeah, this could actually be like a really cool thing?"
Yes, yes, 100%, yes. Well, and I think again, that's a perfect example of that was your pure intuition. That was your pure, you know what I mean? Like it was not like that is hard to fabricate or to generate through any kind of AI anything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it's so interesting. I have I have another funny story. And this is going to be for anyone who is like fearful with design and AI, right? Going back to kind of like that fear-based conversation. I just saw somebody the other day in the Claude community that was like they made themselves anonymous and they're like, is design going to be dead within a few years because of Claude and what it's
Yes,
doing? And so or I
yes.
don't know if you all saw that post, but
Saw it.
so some people are like, yes, like give up now, like throw in the towel. And then other people are like saying what you ladies are saying, where it's like you have to have that intuition and that feeling. A lot of branding has to do with feeling. And what AI is going to recommend is not always necessarily the best for you. And that's where designers are going to come in strong because I had a client come to me recently. They're like, I created this business card and logo using Claude. And I was like, okay, like, well, what do you want fixed? And they're like, well, we don't really love it, like we want to do it. So I went in, I used that as a foundation. I up leveled it, but I have another client that I created something for them, which I felt was very modern, very vibrant, very clean, fits with their personality. They felt like it was outdated. They didn't really like it. And so they had messaged me and they were like, oh, well, I went to Claude Design and just had Claude Design do this. And I looked at it and I laughed because I was like, this is not on brand whatsoever. This is so outdated in my mind. I don't think this is a good move whatsoever. So for professional designers listening to this, like there's still going to be a place for you in this like world as we're shifting into it. And that's great because a lot of this is feeling and AI is really great at pattern recognition. It's really great at guessing. It's really good at pattern recognition, but that it's not going to feel things the same way as we feel things.
So true. Yeah, so true. Yeah.
It's also, like, really good at just I'm gonna refer because it's happening right now and it's fresh in my mind, but if any of you have watched Russell's AI challenge this week, he coined a phrase that I feel like is gonna become my natural vocabulary. He calls it poop brownies. Did you see that?
I saw that.
What is it?
So the point of that is that AI has access to everything, good and bad, and it can't distinguish between brown, sugary goodness dough and brown, not something you would want to eat. And it's going to serve it up to you and be like, is this what you want? And it doesn't know what you actually need or what's good for you. Um, and
What do
so
you
I
call
think with yeah, he went on like a 10-minute rant about poop brownies.
That's awesome.
Um, so that's like what you're saying, Alyssa, is it's just like it- I think also we're in this, it's moving fast, but we're still in an early stage of AI where, and Andrew, you say this sometimes too when we're talking about SaaS, that right now it does feel like your client, like I can go make this on my own with Claude Code, like I can go do it. But then if they go and actually run a campaign and like actually use that as their branding, it might take some time for it to catch up to them, for them to be like, actually that didn't work at all and I should have just hired the person to help me do it the right way. And I think we're still very much in that phase. I think a lot of things people are going to be able to just go do it with AI and it's going to be fine and it'll work out. But we are in that phase where they have like high, um, what's the word? High expectations for what AI is giving them. They think that it's going to give them what they need, and they're going to
Yeah.
learn that it's not actually because
Yeah.
they don't have the experience and the intuition and the other knowledge to go with it to know, is this actually good?
Mhm. Right before this podcast, somebody that I met on TikTok had sent me a message and they're like, hey, can you just take a look at this, site? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I take a look at it and I can tell right off the bat, this is made with AI. A lot of AI sites follow the same framework, have the same look, have the same sort of structure. So I was like, okay, like
And so much purple. Why? Why so much purple?
funny enough, it had purple in it. Okay. So yeah, so I decided to send him like a little, I normally do like paid consults when I do my audits, but every so often I'll do like a free audit here and there. So I was like, all right, let me just make like a quick little video. So I like walk through it in real time, like, hey, like I would change this. This is why I would change this. And I pointed out how that the structure of the page, it AI loves things in threes, which naturally humans do too. But what was happening was it had like a row, and on mobile, of course, it's going to stack really well. But on desktop, it was like three things, and another three things, and another three things, and like the whole like thing was just like three, 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 like back to back. So I had made note of that, and I was like, hey, just AI tends to do this. You probably want to break it up, change the hierarchy, and I was kind of like just talking through. So he sent me a message back. He's like, oh my gosh, I love you. I would have never thought, I didn't catch that until now. And he's like, now I'm gonna know, and when I see other sites, not to do that. And I'm gonna like now know that I need to incorporate this and I need to do this. So there is definitely still a place for designers in this world.
Well,
Well,
and the
and
thing I
that
love
person
Yeah, go ahead,
is
Susan. Yeah.
learning design skill from you for through your feedback, and now he's going to have that knowledge and experience of that you passed on to him, that he's still going to be like using AI, but now he's applying that knowledge. Like it's just passed
Yeah.
on from the human to the human who is using that for discernment.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what I love about that too is that, um, I think trying to convince somebody, you know what I mean, that design is something different that they can't just do without some degree of education or experience or background, right? Is like, I mean, it's like trying to change religions, right? But for them to actually go and do it, right? And then not get the result and then see the result from somebody who does have that education experience or background, right? And that it is better. There's like this newfound appreciation, I think, for it. I mean, we see it all the time. So again, we have this saying on the show, Alyssa, that's we believe that AI will actually help us be more human, and if we allow it, and we let it run its course, it almost feels like this is the same, creatives will actually be more treasured than they currently are right now if we just let this run its course. Yeah, it's kind of cool to think about.
I totally agree with that. I teach Canva quite often.
Yeah.
Like I shared a little bit, like I was trained on Adobe. I did a lot of Adobe stuff. And it's so funny. I was talking to Jake Leslie actually yesterday, and we were
Yeah.
talking about just like speed and transitioning and always having to catch up and how it could feel really heavy and hard. And when we were talking about that, I was thinking about how when Canva first hit the map in the creative space, that was the creative killer back then. And Canva's been around for over a decade now. And I remember when it first hit the market, I had just graduated from design school, and
Totally.
it was the brand new thing, online graphic design tool. Anybody can design. Like it's going to be easy for anybody to do this. And I'm sitting there like, oh man, I just got a degree, and, I'm freelancing and I want to like make money, like finding clients and doing all this stuff. But now like Canva's made it so much easier. And so now I'm going to lose a ton of business, and I'm going to be out of the graphic. Like the fear mongering started happening back then. And like that was the hot combo with professional designers. It was like Canva's going to take over. It's giving more people access to this stuff. Like it's a no go. So one of my best friends, she had started a podcast back then, and she's like, I use Canva to create my podcast cover. I used it to create this. I use it, and I was just like, okay, interesting. And I was a little like hurt at first. I was like, man, I could have designed this stuff for you. She did later hire me on to do stuff for her. But, anyways, like I was like, okay, how can I approach this in a way that maybe it would be more beneficial if I learned it and taught other people how to learn it and taught people how I view the world in design and showed people. So I started playing around Canva. Back then, Canva was not as good as it is right now. But what I realized was it actually benefited the people I was working with way more, and it helped me create. A lot of people don't know, so, like, I was working with Pedro Dale, I was his only creative,
That's
like,
why.
doing all the funnels, all the graphics, all the presentation, like, all this sort of stuff, and it's because I created a efficient system inside of Canva to be able to do these things, and I taught other people on the team how to use those things as well. So we got to use AI as like a tool in the process too, and not be like too afraid of like, this new thing entering the arena. And it is fun getting. I know some designers are still like, design is way too accessible for anybody and everybody. But to your point, and like what you said, there's still so much value for us to come in and teach other people what we do. And I've had those conversations with people after I do workshops and things like that, where they're like, wow, like I like, it's so cool that you've been able to do this stuff. And it's so cool that you've had all these opportunities. And like, I'm so excited that I get to go design my own thing now. And honestly, some of those people end up coming back to me and still working with me.
Yeah.
Even though I taught them
Yeah.
how to do the things, they still want to come back and like have that experience with me. So there is like that whole aspect of it too, where embracing this technology can also open new opportunities, and teaching people like what we know does open new doors and opportunities as well.
Yeah. You know, that reminds me of, this kind of circles back to my very first question. I was having this really good conversation with my nearest and dearest friend, and she was saying, she said something really good that this is what this reminds me of. And that is, she's like, experts, right? Historically, if they have an expertise, they've been paid for like the 90% of like the labor of doing the expertise because people have recognized that they can't do it, right? But they really haven't been paid for the 10% of like the divine inspiration that is coupled with that 90%, right? Which is like the really unique aspect of an expert. She's like, now with AI, no one wants to pay for that 90% anymore because they think they can do it, right? So it's like us leaning into that 10%, which is like your coaching, your mentoring. It is like you allowing that vast library of knowledge in the 90% to then be coupled with the divinity creation and the unique ways that you can make those connections in the body you inhabit. You know what I mean? And then giving it back to people. It is an interesting, it's like a reframe of what does it really actually mean to be an expert? And that 10% in this day and age is the thing that won't be replaced. And just how do we
Yeah.
actually
I
both
love that.
monetize and lean into that?
I love
Yeah.
that. I've never thought about it that way.
But it is an ego death, right? Like, it's like, I don't know about you, I think that's the grieving is like, I've identified so much with this over here, it's like, that's no
Huh?
longer my identity, it's over here.
It's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, it's hard
Mm.
going from like those different seasons of being known as one thing, and then you're having to transition to another, and then you're having to transition to another. And like I'm a multi-passionate creative. So I've been through these like ebbs and flows of being really well known for one thing and then like going to something new, and, but you're right. It's a constant like death and rebirth process of and then also being willing to like ebb and flow with that process, because it doesn't look the same for everybody, and there's a whole thing with grieving. So I'll be honest, like the last few months I have been grieving because I'm like, man, these projects that I was so excited about, that I have so much pride in, and now it's being replaced by an AI generated funnel that's off brand and completely ugly. Oh, can't and then like kind of going head to head with people like, hey, I don't think that's the wisest decision for you branding wise because of XYZ, but they're dead set on doing, that sort of stuff. It is a very humbling thing to go through as well. And it's like, you know what? I in some cases I know when to take a step back, and in some cases I know when to push in and lean in a little bit more, you know?
Yes.
But it's a process.
Yeah. Yes, well
Yeah.
said. I have just, like, 2 more questions. The first one is,
You're
word on the
fine.
street is that you have, like, a book coming and I think you dropped it at the very beginning. Tell us more about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a funny story. I was telling this is Susan. I wrote a book last year before FHL because I had this vision that I was going to show up to FHL with my book and take photos with all my friends, like holding my, I was like, it's going to be awesome. And like back then, it was the last FHL.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I was like, I'm going to do the surprise book launch. I wrote this book within 2 weeks, and I was in the process of trying to get it printed to do a surprise launch at FHL. Literally day before, printer's like, "We can't do it. I'm sorry, like, it's gonna, like, not work." And I was like, "Oh, man." So, then I kinda held on to it, and then in July, I announced, like, "Hey, I've been writing this book. It's gonna be on, like, personal branding in a world of AI and how to stand out and be authentic." And all these people were all excited about it, and then to be honest, like, I got nervous. Like, that there are a bunch of different things layered to this, but I got really nervous about birthing something like this into the world because personal branding is very naturally, it's very personal. But because AI is shifting so much, some of what I wrote very early on has already changed. And so like this is one of those things where I'm like, I'm probably gonna have to do different versions as time goes on. I've been rewriting it to make it a little bit more foundational, a little bit more basic. But it's really fun. I share my branding process and what I've learned over the last 16 years working with small businesses, working with cities and counties here in Florida, working with agencies, working with these like big name people in the marketing space. I share like a very simple branding framework that I've created. I I love teaching, so I share a lot of case studies and what I've been seeing in the marketplace and seeing other brands do and what you can pull from there and what you can learn from there. So I've been in the process of rewriting it, and at the end of the day, it is also really leaning heavy on being human and really, really like, okay, like how much do I want to dig into this? Because I like this is a fun little combo. But personal branding, like the very foundational aspect of it that I had discovered, and I'm starting to see more people teach this now, but I had discovered, in the beginning when people would talk about branding, they would always be like, well, it's always about your audience. You always think about the audience first. You always think about your avatar and your who and and your offering, how you best serve it. It was always about like other people. I learned that in design school too. Always about others. And so like, something happened and I was like, what's interesting is branding is actually an inside out game. It's very like it foundationally starts with yourself and knowing who you are and knowing all these intricacies and the uniqueness of who you are and how you were created and divinity and all these things and how you view the world and see the world before you pour out into others. And so I talk a lot about that being the foundation because I still don't see a ton of people talking about it in the creative space. And I really think that that is the key, difference in what we're going to see moving forward. And so it's a long story short, it's fun. I try to make it fun. I try to make it personal. Try to remind people how awesome and amazing that they are. Yeah, so I'm still working on it. I don't know when it's gonna be out. I'm gonna be very honest. I don't know when it's gonna be out, but it needs to come out soon.
It's so tough, right? I mean, especially when it's like your baby and trying to get it out to the world. It's tough, when that releases.
Yeah,
I think it'll
yeah.
be whenever when you do have it ready and it does come out. I feel like the timing of things, right? And you're still trying to work through it, but also like it's gonna be so needed. Like,
Yeah.
um, we have everything is going toward like you said, there's like a pendulum that's gonna shift, and everything is going so heavily towards the tech and so heavily towards the AI, especially in the business world, that people are going to want to start to disconnect. But I think that there's also this people are creating their AI lookalike video people, and it's like customers, consumers of our things are going to want to crave that connection to people more than they already do. I think we saw that start to happen and shift in the entrepreneurial business space of like people want to actually like connect with a personal brand more than a company. But I think it's just going to be so much more with the use of AI that the businesses are using that personal brand like people are going to have to like disconnect, come back, like what is our personal brand, and it's going to be so needed. And I bet the timing of like all the delays and the redos and all the things that feel like, oh, this is hard to get out right now are probably all intentionally happening because the timing is going to work. I just feel that it's like when they start to like shift back, your book's gonna be there. And it's gonna be
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a blessing. That like honestly in real time, that's a blessing to hear that. And I do believe that in my bones. Like I have goosebumps with that because if I had really it still would have been great if I had released it last year, but you're right. We are seeing this shift and even I'm seeing it in myself too. I'm sure our feeds are very similar because we walk in the same world. We know a lot of the same people. I do not like the AI clone twinning thing. I personally do not like it. I am not a fan of
Right.
it. I don't wanna have to question if I'm talking to the real you or the fake version of you. And so, I have been trying to encourage people, like, if you're gonna go that route, like, that's cool, that's your decision, but I would be very transparent and clear if it's you or your AI twin, they call it the AI twin. I struggle with seeing that, and so even on my feed, because it's like AI this and do this, and you could do your clone could do this, and blah blah blah. Blah. I've started unfollowing people. Just real talk. I've started to unfollow people because I'm like, if you are just gonna make yourself into an AI bot and an AI thing, like I want to have a real conversation with you. And if you DM me, I don't want to be like, is this automation or is it you? So I wrote about in a post recently, and I talk about this in my book. We are seeing real time people trading their authenticity for automation.
Mm.
And it it is killing, it's going to kill their brands in the long run. I really believe that the more people go full heartedly into this, it's going to be harder for people to trust. It's going to be harder for people to believe that they could get that transformation, because sure, even though you trained all this stuff on who you are and like your story and your frameworks and your things, like there's such a different, like exactly what happened here with what you said, Susan, like the fact that I could feel that and be empowered by it. I'm like, dang, now I got to go write my book and get it out. Like there's such just different like energy and shift, with that. And so, I'm excited. I definitely think it is a good time to release this. It's called Create a Better Brand, because I believe that some people are just creating brands for the sake of getting them out. I believe that some people have created brands that are not healthy, not good, not doing good for the world. And I believe that we are all called to a higher calling, and we can create these brands that are going to make the world a better place and bring more freedom and see more humans and do all of this stuff. And so, I've just been encouraging people. I wrote a post about the other day. I'm like, share more of your life. Like, as we're shifting more into this AI thing where our feeds are being like the same ChatGPT language, you start kind of noticing the same messaging across like different people and different things and whatnot. I'm like, if you want to break the noise, like simply share your life. We got to go back. It wouldn't surprise me if even like at the end of the day, all these networks want money, right? Like and so I feel like they're gonna probably start losing people because people are tired of all the AI stuff filling their feeds and all this sort of thing. So my secret prayer is that they will start rewarding more original content, start monetizing more original created content sort of stuff versus like AI generated stuff. But, a big thing with like
I think that's
personal
already
branding,
happening.
is it?
I
Oh, I don't know.
At least on
Yeah,
YouTube, I
I
think
hope
they're like,
so.
yeah,
Mm,
they're starting to like penalize people who are just using
Well,
bots
there's
to create
yeah,
stuff.
I don't think it has
really?
happened yet, but specifically
Okay.
on YouTube, there's gonna be like a big hammer drop where we've been hearing a few people in the space talk about it, where if it's like 100% AI generated content accounts, they're going to totally like disable their accounts and like they're gone. I don't know if it's happened yet, but it's coming from what we hear. And I think that that's because, yeah, the people just don't want like, we want connection. We want to, like you said, we want to know. I don't think we mind AI generated things if we are being if it's transparently being presented as an AI generated thing.
Yeah. Right.
But
Right.
yeah, for
Yeah.
it to be like, I don't wanna take the time to make this, so I'm gonna, like, make it my AI clone that makes it, and I'm just gonna try to pass it off as me. It's just disingenuous and yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't
I
mean
don't
to
like
cut
really
you
it.
do.
off, Alyssa. Sorry. I was
Go ahead.
like, yeah, I think it's happening. Yeah. So
Good.
keep that because I don't want
That's
to. Yeah.
good. I want more of that to happen. It's so funny because it's like I want to go back to the old days of Facebook where I just saw what was going on in people's lives. Like I was thinking about someone the other day. I'm going to send him a message after this. I was like, man, I haven't seen him on Facebook in a while. I haven't seen him pop up in my algorithm. And like that is another just like human element of checking in and caring on one another and like referring jobs out to people and supporting one another's businesses. We still really have to step in that and like embrace that and follow through with that sort of stuff. And so, just like a quick tip. So I talked about like share your life more on Facebook. Often I get kind of pushed back with that with like, well, is that gonna like take away from my business? Is it gonna take away from like people seeing me as this like certain thing? And are people gonna take me on seriously? And then like I don't want to really show off my whole life. And I get it. Like the beauty is you get to choose whatever the hell you want to post,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
whatever you want to be known for. And so, like, I've been on social media for over a decade and primarily on Facebook. I've just been now really getting more on TikTok. I should probably get back on YouTube, but I share a lot of like fun things about my life. I share that I love Lego and building Lego. And I just started collecting Pokemon cards again. So I'm painting my binder and like and my hats, right? So like most people know me because of the hats. And so what's so funny and so interesting is I know my personal brand is sticking with people because when I go to FHL, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna look for Liz because she has her hats on." Like I know she's gonna have her hat. So like, and if I don't have the hat on at FHL and
It's
I
weird.
like
It's like, who
introduce
are you?
myself, they're like, They're like, "Who is this person?" That's exactly what happens. And so and but what's really cool is, like, people will send me messages, like, "I saw this hat at the store today and I thought about you. And I saw this artist on, on this whatever platform and I thought about you." And they'll send me videos of people that are creating Legos and they're like, "I thought about you." And that's the thing with personal branding is, like, making that connection feel so real where it's like you see something and it reminds you of that person,
That's
whether
so
it's a
cool.
certain color, a certain thing, right? And again, it just goes back to being human and wanting to, like, experience life together. And so that stuff is so fun for me. I love to geek out about that stuff. So yeah,
Oh, I love
Just
that.
cool.
while you were just reminding us of all of those things, I think it was it, Jenna Kutcher that, like, made it famous with, like, the 5 things, that people I'm like, "I'm not doing that. I'm, like, doing terrible at posting personal." I try, but I also, like, I have a big, like, privacy problem with, like, family, I don't ever
Yeah.
post pictures of my kids, and, like,
Hmm.
there's ways to get around that though, right? So I just wrote down
Yeah.
my 5, so thank you for the inspiration of, like, I should there's things that Andrea will, like, bring up during our calls, like, "You guys
Yeah.
probably don't know this about Susan, but she likes this thing," like the hockey thing, I'm like,
Aw.
"There's literally nobody on my Facebook that probably knows that I like hockey, so
Yeah.
why don't
Had
I
no
just, like,
idea.
share that?" Right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
number 5, put some posters up and
Yes,
You
yes.
should,
I love
yeah, or like
it.
a hockey
Yeah,
stick, a jersey, like something fun like that, and I
yeah.
encourage people to do that in their backgrounds too, and the other funny thing is, like, I will do brand consulting, I do one-on-one calls and help people, like, talk through their branding, their visual branding, and we look at the whole ecosystem and things like that, and sometimes I'll hop on calls with people and they're like, "Well, I don't really know what to do with my branding. I don't really know what colors I like or anything." And I just look at their environment, I look at what they're wearing, I look at what's in there, and more often than not, you are typically wearing your brand color or you have something with what your brand is going to be in your home in your background and you
mm,
just aren't aware. It's very natural. So it is always really funny. But yeah, I hopefully next time I video chat with you, I see something with hockey in
Oh,
the
I'm gonna
background.
add some things. Yeah, I have a couple of things on my shelves, but they're not you can't even really see them, so, yeah.
Yeah.
yes,
Hold me to it the
yes,
next time we chat.
yes,
Well, that's really exciting. I'm sorry, Andrea. I was just gonna say, just to wrap up on the book front, I'm like super excited for that to come out,
Thank
and
you.
like the timing of it is gonna be amazing. And then
yes.
yeah, that whole shift is gonna come down hard on people. I think that it'll be like the like everyone's like trying to keep up with the AI right now, and then everyone's gonna be scrambling to get back to like human connection in their businesses.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So true. Okay, so we usually like to ask this one question of every guest who comes on, and that is just in your day to day, Alyssa, how do you stay human? How do you just stay connected to the human condition?
Yeah. So, that's a really good question. Besides, like, randomly checking in on people, whether it's, like, my clients, like, I always like to tell the people I work with, like, "Oh, you're part of my family now." Like, it's not just a one and done sorta thing. It's something where it's like, I wanna do life with you, and I wanna get dinner with you at FHL, and, I wanna know what your kids are interested in and what their hobbies are because maybe I'll see something and send them a little something, like, so I try to be more intentional with my client relationships. I also try to be intentional with just like the friendships that I have on Facebook. If I see someone that I haven't talked to in a long time, I'll reach out to them. On TikTok, I've been doing the same thing with just trying to kind of note who's hopping in my lives, who's commenting more often, extending an outreach to them and saying, "Hey, not I'm not trying to sell anything. I suck at sales. I'm just trying to be human. And so like just like having these little elements here and there. And then, for me personally, I have been practicing more of rest. And I am coming out of a long season of just like like back to back to back stuff. And so I have been sitting outside more often with my dog, disconnecting with my from my phone, putting my phone on the stand, doing, whatever else just to kind of like slow down, like going back to the beginning of the conversation when I was sharing about Carlos Whitaker and his book How to Human and how he has this process and how he was like, we've got to slow down. It is just like way too fast. So for me, I'm being more intentional about slowing down every day. And we love our neighborhood. We live in an amazing neighborhood. We go and hang out with our neighbors and we talk with our neighbors. And so we always try to like have these very human, both my husband and I, and our dog. Like so we try to go out and like just slow down and disconnect and support small businesses and get to know people on a deeper level than the typical like how's your day? Like very like shallow conversation. So that is how I'm practicing being more human.
I love that. The being intentional and slowing down. Like, I can't think of things that are more human. I love that. Yeah. Oh, Alyssa, I have enjoyed so much the conversation and just thank you from both Susan and I's like bottom of my heart. Just appreciate somebody who's like a kindred spirit and a kindred soul in this journey. If people wanted to just dive into your world and like learn more about you and just want to be connected to you, what's the best way to do that?
That's a great question. So my website's down right now. So don't
Better.
at the time of this podcast, I am redoing it on the back end. So I would say the best way to connect with me is on Facebook or on TikTok at this time. On Facebook, I'm under Alyssa Aviles. And then on TikTok and all my other social medias, I'm under at the lovely Liss. Liss is my nickname. That's how my clients and friends would introduce me. They would be like, oh, meet my friend, the lovely Liss. So that's my business name and my social media name. So you can follow me on any platforms, typically under the lovely Liss, but on Facebook,
I
it
love
is
it.
under Alyssa Aviles. And you'll get to see my fun, creative life and the Legos I'm building and the Pokemon binder I'm painting and Grogu over here and plants and dogs and coffee and all the fun little things like that. Yeah, but you will also learn about Canva and ClickFunnels. I do share some of that stuff too, but gotta mix it up a little bit.
I love it.
Amazing. I love it. And we gotta make sure you're connected too with our person. So our designer on our team, so she would love you.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much,
All
Alyssa. So
right.
appreciate you. And
Thank
yeah, go
you.
ahead.
Thank you. All right, everyone listening, if you loved this episode and you want more of it, please subscribe. Go share it with a friend. Let's really use this as a way to get that conversation of human connection is so important in today's world. So let's get the word out that there are people that are talking about it and that do care about it and are prioritizing it. And with that, stay human and stay connected, and we'll see you next time.